Edward. Edward is a new mastermind member. He just joined yesterday. It's awesome, Edward. Thanks and welcome. He says, I am outsourcing websites. The guy I am using is amazing. The issue I have is having content for him on all pages of a site. How can I get all of it done without spending hours doing each page myself, and getting it from the client is impossible? How to outsource this? Good question, Edward. The best thing that you can possibly do for your business is start hiring writers, interviewing and hiring writers. I would recommend going to Upwork to start. And you can actually go through. In fact, Edward, since you're a member of Semantic Mastery, we have a discount for Outsource Kingpin available to you. Or I'm not sure exactly how that works at the moment because we've changed some things recently. But you have at least a discount, if nothing else. So we'll make sure that you get access to that. Depending on what it is that we got to do to get it to you. But you should go through that because you can set up an outsource hiring funnel. That you can put a couple of writers through. And you're going to have to pay each writer that you give to put through the process and give them a small writing task. And what I do is I've got writers now because I've screened them and found some really good ones over the last several years that I use now. But what I was trying to say was the best thing that you can do is to hire a writer directly, not going to a content farm and buying shitty spun articles that are just trash content. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about developing a relationship with a writer that you can contact at any time on an as needed basis and send work to. That is one of the best things that you can have on your team is a contractor available for writing or multiple contractors. That's what I recommend. Most of the SEO work that I do for my clients and my lead gen sites, guys, is just I have curators on staff that curate and publish posts. Because all the heavy lifting's been done for most of my projects, and so it's just a matter of maintaining rankings, which basically is just content marketing. Because of all the IFTTT work and all the external, the link building and everything else that has been done already, it's just a matter of maintaining rankings, and that just requires content marketing. So the majority of my SEO business now is really just managing a team of curators. But I also have writers. There's a difference between a writer and a curator. But writers, I have several writers that I use for various projects that are outstanding as well. One in the UK, one in Africa, and one here in America, in the US. So I've got 3 different writers that I use all the time. All 3 of them I've been able to hire from Upwork or other outsourcing type sites that I ended up pulling them from those escrow sites and hiring them direct. And they work direct for me now on an as needed basis. So I just pay them on a per article basis or like a press release or per article or per word, depending on what the project is. But I highly recommend that that's what you do is start going through, first of all, the Outsource Kingpin. I know you've got so much on your plate, Edward, right now. So I recommend going through the Outsource Kingpin product because it will help you to streamline trying to, screen potential writers. It takes a little bit of work to set up, but trust me, it's going to save you so much time compared to what you would spend if you had to screen every single one of the candidates manually, right? So, but that's what I recommend is that you go out and you start looking for your own and hiring and screening and then hiring your own writers for your own projects, because having somebody that you can contact via Skype or whatever at any time and just submit projects to and have them do it well is so much. It's going to be critical to growing your business. You guys have any comments for that?
No, I totally agree with you, Bradley. I totally agree. The fact that, there are some services out there, but the reality that the best way to go is to get a writer that, you can treat directly with, because, if you go to a content farm or you will end up screwing up your website getting the index. So that's not worth the trouble. Number one. Number two, if you go to a kind of, how would I put it? There are services out there that they're really good, but they will charge on top of each article because they have overhead. They have editors and they have a bunch of things.
Right.
So if you want like a send up forget, that's the way, and you're willing to pay premium, that's the way to go. But again, I think that a good content writer for whatever you need, press releases, curation, even big time money sites and big time projects, I think that having a content and paying them well, treating them well as you would, with any other contractor, I think that's golden. And once you find one, you need to keep them happy, because the content writers that they really deliver and they are on time and they do not disappear as with any other contractor, basically they are really valuable, number one. And Outsource Campaign will help you achieving exactly that. You will be mind blown with the quality of contractors that you can find using that process.
Yeah, and how quickly. And then, as Chris says, here's the second part of his comment to you, Edward. And then you can train them. You can train the curators, or you can. Here's the thing: for pages on a site, guys, I don't recommend curating. It's okay to curate content within a page, there's no doubt. But generally, for websites, for pages, I have original content written. But for posts, I always curate because it's so much more efficient, right? And I don't do any of the curating myself now. I've got a team that does it, right? But curating is so much more efficient for the blog posts, and it not only is it efficient, but it also it responds well. Google responds well to that type of content. And so, for writers, I would recommend hiring writers. For curators, you can hire just virtual assistants that have no writing experience whatsoever. I mean, obviously they have to, but let me just explain what I mean. I've got curators in the Philippines that curate on a lot of my lead gen sites, or when I used to do a lot of PBN work, which I don't anymore, but when I used to do a lot of that, they would curate on the PBN sites for backlinks, basically, for link building. But they'll do a lot of the curated posts for my lead gen sites. And then all of my curators for money sites, for client sites, I end up having native English speaking curators, which again, I've got my 3 writers that have been trained in curating. And what did I do to train them to curate? I put them through Content Kingpin. I'm not kidding. My 3 writers that I just talked about, I've got one in the US, one in UK, and one in Africa. Those 3 writers are amazing, but I put them through Content Kingpin to show that it was called Curation Mastery at the time. In fact, it wasn't even a product. I created the product to teach my writers how to curate, and then I created the product out of that training, if that makes sense. But so, they do the actual curated posts on the money sites as well. But there's a huge difference in how much money you can charge between, like, for example, having original content written and then having curated content. You can make a hell of a lot more money curating content and paying the curators only a portion of what you charge the client. So, for example, if you charge a client, let's say, $35 or $40 per post that you syndicate to their blog, right? Or that you publish to their blog, you can pay a curator anywhere, say, let's $15 or $20 per post. And that's on the high end. But as Hernan just mentioned, I always pay my good writers, my good curators top dollar, because I want them working for me. And in fact, one of our writers that here in the US, her name is Elan. We work with her. I've been working with her for over 3 years now. And we give her work all the time. Like, we just sent her another job today for another writing job for a press release. So, I mean, like, it's crazy. But I've kept some of these writers and curators now for years because they're just really good. And so, for curating posts, you can charge a client $35, $40. And this is I'm just pulling this number out of the air. I've got a lot of clients like this. But say $35 or $40 and you pay the curator $15 or $20, you make a nice spread and you don't have to do jack except manage them, which is very easy to do once they get into a routine, and put them through the Content Kingpin course. And we have no problem with you sending your virtual assistants that you've hired through the course. Okay, we've got no problem with that. Okay. Anyways, that's a whole nother stream of revenue in itself, Edward, is just content marketing services. And that does not require results-based. I mean, yeah, you can use that in your pitch for the services, is that it's going to produce results. It's going to help SEO, blah, blah, blah. But you can sell just content marketing services alone without even mentioning SEO. And it's an activity-based service, and instead of a results-based service. In other words, you get paid just for the publishing of posts, right? Whether it produces results or not. Now, if it's part of an SEO package, obviously you're going to want those to produce results, and they usually will if you know what you're doing. Follow our training, you'll be fine. So, great question.